Yeah. I can't get people to stop calling me and offering me a warranty. Jesus. Yeah, Senator Tim Kraayenbrink is here. I guess maybe this is actually a legitimate caller here. Good afternoon. You're on the air at KBFD.
Hello, Mike. This is Chris Mitchell from the Institute for Local Self-Reliance.
Oh, Chris, I'm sorry. Can you call me back at 2:40?
Yes, I'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Oh, that's it's the Institute for Self-Reliance. Yeah, that's my area. Actually, that guy was a guest, but I wanted Senator Kraayenbrink to come in at this time. Anyway, I think we've got it all straightened out here. So I went around and around with Pastor Hill of the First Presbyterian Church yesterday, and then last week with Representative Meyer about the issue of transgender athletes. Now, if a person wants to be a transgender, that's their business as far as I'm concerned. But if you're going to tell me, Tim, and somehow I don't think you are, that it's all right for a young man to suddenly start believing he's a female and wants to compete in young girl sports, specifically wrestling or even basketball or track or any of these sports, I'm going to have to say you're morally bankrupt. I didn't use those words on Ann and Austin, but who's really being discriminated against here when we're talking about allowing young men, really, or young boys, to compete against young girls in high school athletics or grade school athletics? You and I are bigger men, Tim. I bet you when I was a high school wrestler, and I was a terrible high school wrestler, I could have pinned every girl in my class. Little did I know, all I needed to do was transition, and I'd have been a state champion.
Well, they didn't have girls wrestling then.
No, they shouldn't. You're right, they didn't, and the world changes, and it's a good thing.
Which is fine. I enjoy
wrestling,
and that's great. If they don't offer the sport, when women's, then they should be able to wrestle. But they offer that sport. So
yeah, sure. There's girls softball too.
Yeah.
And
the one that I have a little bit of problem with yet is football. I mean, if you were in a full contact sport like that, I would feel that hopefully we don't have female athletes that can compete or want to compete with the college or pro athletes. I mean, those guys that play that game are just, their bodies are lethal weapons
that's
alone.
Right.
And, you watch some of those games and the way some of those running backs get hit, I just can't believe they actually get up and go to the right huddle after they're done because they get hit so hard.
We don't have trans athletes going out for football yet,
right.
But we will.
Right.
We will. Some woman, larger woman will try to transition
right.
over there. But
I think we have girls that play high school football.
Well,
too. So,
but
no, as far as the trans gender is concerned, I would vote every time to not allow them to use bathrooms that aren't their born identity, or I would also vote every time that women or men aren't allowed to, when they are choosing their sex later on, that they're allowed to participate in the other gender sport. I just don't believe it's a good move for anyone.
So if it came to a vote on whether allowing, and again, if you want to be a transgender person, be a transgender person.
I would vote 100% of the time not to let it happen.
Yeah.
Also, we talk about, making special classes all the time about, this class of people or this class of people, or, just making them a protected class.
Yeah.
And to me, it confuses things, because honestly, I think God made everybody equal. And if God made everybody equal, why do we need special classes to protect anyone? Why can't we just treat everyone, what someone does, just because I said I would vote against that doesn't mean if you want to do whatever you want to do, Mike, I may not verbally support you, and I may not verbally criticize you, but, I just won't make any comment. And to me, that's fine if I don't comment at all, but then don't put it in front of me and comment on my choices or
don't try to
else's.
normalize this behavior, because it's abnormal.
I mean, if
behavior.
It's normal to you, that's fine with me. Just don't try to push it on everyone else.
And certainly don't try to make me some sort of bigot who's discriminating against transgender people, because that's utter nonsense.
Yeah,
we're talking practicality here.
I think when anybody has to stand up and try to defend themselves that they're not a racist or they're not a homophobe, or, that to me is destructive, and it's also disingenuous, because honestly, you are what you are. And if, I'm not bothered by it, then why are you bothered by it?
Well, it was even brought up in some of my discussions with people on transgender athletes. The question would be asked, what would Jesus do? And of course, my response was, Jesus would whisper gently and lovingly, be who I made you. Jesus is about love. He would love and does love transgender people.
Now you're not only the doctor of truth, but you're actually Jesus. Tell you what, you're elevating yourself pretty quick here, Mike.
I didn't really want to make that leap, actually. I don't think I'm the savior of truth.
That's the next one.
I mean, if you'd care to worship me, feel free.
Let me think about it.
Yeah. Well, you've thought about it long enough, and I don't blame you for passing. No, but you know what I'm saying.
I do.
The truth is Jesus is about, the truth will set you free. And the truth is, you cannot have two same-sex people producing a child, even though the state of Iowa requires that same-sex couples be listed as a parent on Iowa birth certificates. And no, you cannot have transgender males transitioning to little girl sports, because it'll kill girl sports, especially at the high school level. I mean, we have great girls softball teams here. We do. We have great girls softball teams here. Some transgender athlete could be the biggest home run hitter in the state history, and we better not say anything about it, because why? We're white men and we're terrible transphobia. Is that what I'm suffering from now? Who knows?
It could be.
We're always suffering from something. I must be just an emotional and psychological mess.
Okay, he's finally admitted it. I think we're on the way to recovery.
Either I am or these other people are certainly crazier than hell.
That's
All
funny.
right, this is KBFT Radio. You're on the air with the senator.
Yeah, I'd like to tell you guys how much I enjoy your program. And I grew up in the 50s. I don't think anybody wanted to, for girls track would make it home at night after school, I can tell you. That's my only comment. We weren't just normal kids, but that's the way it was.
Would you say that again for Senator Kraayenbrink, please?
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry. I grew up in the 50s in high school, and some guy that wanted to be on the girls' team, I think he'd be have a tough time making it home after school, is all I can say.
I understand exactly what you said. I grew up primarily in the 1960s, and I have to tell you, there were a couple of boys who were identified as gay in our crowd that had a rough time, and I didn't agree with it. I didn't. I mean, I'm not gay. I'm not a homosexual. I don't care to be, and frankly, yeah, I think that's weird too. But I don't agree with beating people up because they're different than I am.
No, I agree.
Yeah, no, me neither. But I just
statement.
telling you that I never looked down on anybody either. But I looked at, that's the way the guys that I grew up with looked at it. It wouldn't be very pleasant. So anyway, Senator, I want to appreciate all the good work you do also.
Yeah,
you've been doing a fine job.
Yes, Senator Kraayenbrink has been doing a great job. And I thank you for your call, sir.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Bye.
Right, bye-bye. Yeah, this is AM 1400 KBFT, the voice for Dodge. Feel free to call 955-1400 if you have a question for Senator Kraayenbrink. As a lot of you know, I was off work for quite a while. I was sick with COVID. And there have been some changes to the little studio here since I was sick, and we haven't got them resolved yet. But let me just put it this way. It may be a little bit difficult for the senator to hear all the questions. Just bear with us, please. And don't let it deter you from calling in and asking.
It could be like when I was an official. If you didn't see it happen, just make it up, right?
Yeah, there you go, buddy. There you go. Anyway.
We finished out session last week.
All right. Yeah, and I just want to finish with the transgender thing once and for all. Do you see these transgender athlete bills coming back up again next session? And what would you predict?
We
hired the Republicans to do a certain thing.
I don't know if it's going to come up. I would have been okay with them addressing that this year, but I don't, and it kind of, for me politically, it doesn't matter. I just vote what I believe, but there are some people in the legislature that find it harder to vote on controversial issues on election years. And
I guess
next year will be an election year. Mm-hmm. So For their sake, I probably would have rather had it happen this year. But, for me, I just vote what I feel is right and
I know you do.
representing the majority of my constituents. My constituents are pretty diverse. We've got a semi-metro area here, which we like to call metro in the Fort Dodge area, but I've got quite a bit of rural too, and so this year we're going to have redistricting done. I can't see my Fort Dodge base changing, at all. I think it's going to stay with my district just because I'm kind of in the heart of that, and you're going to need a bigger metropolitan type area to give us 25,000 or so people, toward the 60,000. And I mean, some of the counties around could do a little bit of adjusting or switching, but I don't see my percentages changing a lot. So I've always found when I vote on things, I vote my heart, and I vote what I feel a majority of my constituents want me to vote, and I stay with that. And it's been pretty effective, to this point.
Really, I tell you, we keep hiring the Republicans in great numbers so that they will protect the culture. Now, Republicans are going to cut taxes. We understand that. But if all we have is moral relativist Republicans holding up important bills, we should just start voting Democratic, frankly, because the Democrats will always pass out the money to somebody. I might as well stick my hand out there, too. If none of these things mean anything, then let's bring the boys home from Des Moines. Let's bring the boys and girls home from Des Moines.
No, I agree.
Because you're not representing us. You're representing some idea in your head,
right.
And we didn't send you there to represent you.
Right. Some ulterior motive or some agenda that, you've always had in the back of your mind that you wanted to, for me, and I think I've been very honest with this, people have said, oh, what do you want to see done down there? What are your most important things you want to see done? And I guess I would like to see about 5,000 things undone, and just to make people free, to make them, fund the things that need to be funded, and to let them enjoy life and let them enjoy the hard-earned money that they have worked so hard for, and let them stimulate the economy. That's kind of what I feel.
You did pass and let's talk taxes here, and we're going to keep Senator Kraayenbrink with us here until 3. That's the good news.
240 at least.
240. Well, I'm getting a hold of Chris Mitchell right now, and he's going to talk about. He's up in Minneapolis, and he keeps an eye on cable companies that gouge the brains.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I really want to talk to him as well. But it's important that we have you here, especially at end of session. So you did pass a bill. Not you personally, but the Republicans and Governor Reynolds have signed a bill that reduces taxes, especially in regard to estate taxes. And certainly there was a bill involving education that would benefit charter schools. Are you comfortable with those positions?
Yeah. The first one was a multi-tiered bill that really kind of was responsible for pushing us into a longer session. We tried to negotiate, with the House on that. The governor was 100% along with the Senate. We wanted to, number one, take the tax levy for mental health off of the taxpayer, the property taxpayer owner. And secondly, in that bill also, there was a tearing down and getting rid of the inheritance, the death tax, we call it, or the inheritance tax for property owners that were giving land and those type of things on to their kids. It's kind of a double taxation is what we came to understand. So both of those things were negotiated and completed. So we'll see the tax levy for mental health to go away. We're going to fund that out of the general fund, which we should end up this year with about a $400 million surplus in the general fund, and that's coming through the pandemic. And I think we saw that earlier this year when we were voted the number one state in the whole United States financially to be able to come through a pandemic like we did fiscally. And that says a lot for leadership. It just says a lot that, we have to say no sometimes on things just to make sure that we're safe and we're, financially in a good spot, so we don't have to go back to the taxpayers and keep asking for more and more money to bail us out. Believe me, the federal government's doing a really good job of, stimulating the economy, and it's probably part of the reason why the stock market is racing along so well.
But let's not forget, Tim, and I'll bring you the Councilman Halter, Jeffrey Halter, argument, and I know I'm going to hear it from city officials this week when they're on the air with me, is that the backfill is going away and all these other taxes are being cut. We're going to start losing police officers, firefighters, city employees who we depend on quite a bit. Are you concerned about that?
Well, I've said that before, that I've had discussions even 4 years ago with our mayor, Matt Bemrick, and talking about the backfill and how important it was. And I said, just remember, I think we're going to come up with something in the next couple of years that's going to tear this down to the point, that it's not going to be there anymore. And part of the reason is because of the tremendous growth that we've had in Fort Dodge. Now, if you're if you're under the state average of 31% growth, as far as the community is concerned, the backfill is going to be there longer, and it's going to be a slower tear down. But if you're at the 31% or above, like we are here, it's going to be a quicker tear down. That means if you've got rates, or if you've got assessments that are raising pretty dramatically on your value of your homes in the community, as long as other new businesses coming into the community that are also paying property taxes, we have far overpassed our amount of money that we're getting in on backfill. And to me, then that means that the law that was passed for small business tax relief had worked, and it stimulated growth in the community. And if it has done that, then we should be able to wean ourselves off of what was needed to get us to the point where the growth happened. And that's where the disconnect happens. The disconnect happens when you're getting something that you think is going to be there forever, and you grow at a rapid rate, and you're receiving more revenue because of the growth. We should be not spending 100% of that growth. We should be holding some of that back, knowing that the fiscal stimulus, which was the backfill, was put into place to hold us through the time period before the growth happened.
Mm-hmm.
And now that the growth has happened, we've got I don't know how many times more revenue than what that backfill even equates to. And so that's the argument that you have, is once it seems like with government, we're in a position where we're getting something, it seems like a lot of times we feel we're entitled to it forever and it should never go away. And these are things that I think as a community, as a taxpayer, we have to continue to evaluate, some of these things that we have out there. Not only that, but even tax credits. There's tax credits that are costing the state money. Well, if those tax credits are not doing what they're supposed to do, stimulate growth, then we maybe should get rid of them. Because it isn't doing what it was meant to do. Mm-hmm. And is somebody going to be angry about that? Yeah, because they're receiving revenue off that. But a lot of times when we do these type of programs, we just do them and don't say, okay, in 3 years, if this isn't doing what it's supposed to do, it's not going to be there anymore. And we're going to try something different. And that's the attitude we have to have when we're down there. We have to be accountable for your money that you give us, not only in your income tax or your property tax or your local sales tax. I mean, we have to be accountable for that, or I don't think we're doing a very good job of governing.
Well, at least you didn't tell me everybody needs to put skin in the game. Will you please tell Governor Reynolds to stop saying that?
Skin in the game.
She always wants skin in the game, which is...
I guess I have to listen to her more often, maybe.
Which is a way of saying I want to shift property taxes, the property tax burden from business owners and especially farmland onto ordinary residential property. In other words, this is a tax shifting thing to people who are at the lower end of the income.
Well, I've said, and I've been very honest about that. That's not true. I mean, if I rent you a place,
the city needs a couple extra cops, who's going to pay
But if
for
I'm
it?
renting you a place for $650 and my property taxes go up by $1,000, now I'm going to rent it to you for $725 because I'm still going to cover my property taxes. So indirectly, the renter is still paying for those property taxes.
I'm not really talking about landlords, Tim. I'm talking about people with jobs, sometimes from a 2-income household who got a little house on the south side. They own it. They're trying to pay for it. Now their taxes are going to go.
Right.
And
right.
Is that...
But that isn't going to happen, because when we took the mental health off of property tax, we're taking out of the general fund.
Okay.
So it's not coming from property taxes. They'll receive a property tax decrease because
So-
we're losing that levy.
So the general fund is there due to sales
The-
tax. And,
Yeah, and if the farmers have a good year this year, the revenue is going to be up, and and which we were so another thing that was in that bill that has never really been talked about either is the triggers. So the triggers are things that had to happen before we could implement another tax reduction in our state income tax. Okay.
Mhm.
And we were a millimeter away from that happening. So in this bill also, we got rid of those triggers so that we could start working on income tax lowering for the state of Iowa as well,
Okay.
which is going to put more money into those people's hands, that you're talking about. The people are both working and they've got a house on the south side and they can't afford, a new car or a new used car or something. I mean, what we're doing is are targeted at those people. So when you hear this rhetoric out there that you're cutting taxes for the rich, it's just the same old tired talking points that are used about what Republicans try to do to help the taxpayers of Iowa.
But did the rich get a tax cut?
Everybody does. But I'll guarantee you that the rich pay more than you do.
No doubt about it. Of course they do. But speaking of rich,
So
let's talk
fair
about
share, you know what fair share means?
No.
It's more than you.
Oh, that's
Okay,
the skin of the
so-
gamer, Mark.
Well, I'm just saying that fair share is you pay your fair share. Well, if I made 80,000, anybody that's rich is 92,000.
Well, let's
you
talk.
know.
Since you've chosen to insult my tax status,
No, I figured you're still above that
Proportionally, Tim,
92,000.
if I'm paying 10% and everybody's paying 10%, that's the old flat tax thing. That's
Right. Right.
uh,
We don't have that, by the way.
the 10% hurts me more than somebody's got $20 million, such
Exactly.
as yourself.
Exactly.
Since it's a Kraayenbrink family, they have all the money in the world.
So maybe if my or someone's LLC or their corporation pays taxes, but my personal taxes are a different. It doesn't mean just because I own a corporation or these corporations that those corporations are paying taxes.
Mm-hmm. I know that.
I mean, they're paying taxes and you're paying your personal taxes at the same time. So, I just don't understand how people can say that rich with quotation marks around it, defined as anybody that makes more than the person that's talking does. The rich aren't paying their fair share. I still think it has to come down to that. There aren't people that are ducking taxes. I mean, you go to jail for that.
Yeah, you do. But of course, a buddy of mine who's an accountant got rich helping people duck taxes. So
Yeah, but he probably is also in jail.
I also Senator Tim Kraayenbrink is our guest. No, he's not in jail. He did everything legally. That's why they hire people like him to screw the government legally. What do you think? We have all these accountants and tax attorneys.
Yeah,
in
but
town.
if it's legal, then it's legal.
Yes,
Then
yes, it is.
we shouldn't do it.
I
that
have
way,
no problem
then
with
let's
that.
make it
I have
illegal
no
then.
problem with no. Nobody's saying that.
Right.
We have to watch out. I mean, we were talking about doing that a little earlier, making the tax code a little simpler. The accountants and tax attorneys,
Like the
lobby.
state income tax of Iowa zero, like South Dakota and
Right.
Texas
Oh
and,
yeah.
and Arizona and Florida, all the states that are growing.
All right, calm down. Calm down.
Doctor of Truth. Does anyone
we did pass the amendment that states nowhere in the Iowa Constitution does it give the right for an abortion. And basically what we have said is that the ruling from the Supreme Court was legislating, because they found somewhere in
The
the
14th
Constitution that there were things that they felt they interpreted that meant you had the right for an abortion, although abortion was never stated once in the Constitution. So we're going to put the word abortion into the Constitution, and it's say that Iowans have no right to an abortion. And the nice thing is Iowans get a vote on it.
Yeah.
So it's not anything.
Oh,
to do.
majority rule and
Yeah,
minority rights.
and so, you know, and I guess we listened to this on the floor quite a bit, is that we're going to be surprised what the people of Iowa are going to say. And if we're going to be so surprised, why did they spend 5 hours arguing against it?
Right.
If we're going to be surprised, why don't we just say, okay, let's do it and let the people vote? And if you truly believe that your side is going to be the victor, then why are you stalling and yelling and screaming about how bad we are for 6 hours on the floor?
Because that's all they ever have.
But it's our same old tired playbook, Mike. It's the same. We've been listening to this same old tired rhetoric for 7 years that I've been in there. And you think it'd get old after a while, but it's the same playbook. And it's just, I don't think it's a very winning playbook for them. I think they're going to have to switch their tone at some point, you know? Yeah.
Well, they're going to have to make a better argument. Roe versus Wade really had no legal foundation. Harry Blackmun, one of the authors of Roe versus Wade at the Supreme Court level, said in the early 90s when Bill Clinton was president that Roe versus Wade had to be passed to make women equal. And to make women equal, they needed abortion. They needed abortion on demand. Now, there's nowhere in the Constitution that, or in law, or any of the amendments, including the 14th Amendment, which was put in place to restore the rights of slaves, that abortion is that can be found in our Constitution, the federal Constitution or the state Constitution. They don't have a legal argument. In other words, what they have is activist judges.
I think a lot of people just don't go back. I mean, they live in the present, and then they want to look to the future. And if you go back and really study why Planned Parenthood and abortion was actually put into, existence, I think people would be surprised.
Yeah, well, yes,
and
they would.
They'd be disgusted. And and it might change some of the attitudes that are out there, but
reading is a good thing. Understanding what you're advocating for.
Yeah, another thing that I always get a kick out of, 5 years ago when we took majority, our first tax cut, we were supposed to be on the bobsled to bankruptcy. I mean, it was said several times on the floor. And if my figures have it right, we're going to have over $400 million in our savings account, plus another $800 million in the rainy day fund, plus another $150 million in a tax relief fund. So I think the bobsled must have skipped that hill because basically the state's doing great, but yet every time we talk about finances, we know nothing. And this next tax cut's going to break the mental health system. It's going to, it's the same old thing that we hear all the time, and it just gets a little bit disingenuous and a little bit frustrating, to sit there and hear it all the time. Same old story.
Well, yeah.
I want the abbreviated version. Okay, you guys are bad. That's enough. Let's vote.
You guys are bad. You're hateful. White men are just deeply flawed.
And then
we're fragile creatures.
Then let's vote. Okay, let's just get it done.
Let's just vote.
Yeah.
We're fragile, Tim. Did you know that we're fragile? We just, we get so defensive when we're called racist. Or whatever. I mean, a lot of these social positions are just made up by sociologists fed to activist judges on the Supreme Court, and all of a sudden we have implicit bias and all kinds of weird rules and things like that. It's twisted. It's no way for a free country to operate, and the only real solution is for the citizens to truly educate themselves.
Well, and I think that's what's happening. I think this, if nothing else, it's an awakening for the people to see how far their country has slipped.
Yeah.
And such few people control, an entire country. And I think a lot of people, even in school board elections that I'm hearing, talking with people in other communities, I was down for the signing of the no mask thing, and it's amazing. Some of these people that were never involved in politics ever are digging their heels in, and they are becoming activists to get on to these school boards to stand up for the rights of the parents and the kids. And my hat's off to them, because you know what? It's not a little late, because I still think we can do this, but America's waking up, and I think it's going to be a tremendous thing to watch, is to watch America take back their freedom in their country.
Well, we trusted the intellectual classes for too long. We trusted our educators to have the same value system that we do. They obviously don't, and obviously some Republicans and certainly the Democrats don't share our value
they're all
system.
to blame, Mike.
Yeah. Well, there's no doubt.
And I think you and I are exempt, because I don't think we meet any of the intellectual
Well, exactly.
part that you're talking about.
Who that guy?
I think we're both safe there.
Yeah, we're all right. Let's talk charter schools a bit. Of course, there's always an uproar when you start messing around with the taxes that go to schools. And what is your position on charter schools? And
I'm an ESA guy. I mean, you know that. I would like as much choice as we can possibly get for our kids and our families, and especially with some of the stuff that's kind of slowly creeping into our education system. We saw kind of a semi-travesty, I guess it depends what side of the aisle you're on, but go through the Ames School and Black History Month. They were teaching some of the things to third graders and second graders, and even down to kindergarten. Sure. That if I was I'm paying my taxes, and I'm paying for the public education of my child, and if you believe that your child's not going to learn that at that age, I think those parents still need a public education option. And if that option is a charter school that is held accountable by a school board or a group in a public setting or a public realm, and receive public money for that, then I would be 100% for that. Parents right now, are in the next 5-10 years, are going to be looking for choices, especially with what is being thrown at our public school system. I'm not saying that
the mandates.
But I'm not saying that all of our public schools are following this. I know mine aren't. Ours aren't here in Fort Dodge, and I know that the rest of my communities with Humboldt and Rockwell and Lake City and Manson and Pocahontas, they are not. Laverne, that area. But if it starts to creep into those areas, these parents need another public choice, because they deserve that. Their kids deserve to learn how to read, write, and get smart. They don't have to learn a lot of this other social stuff that's being thrown at them at such a young and early age.
Or to be flat out guilted by false information. The Project 1619 by the New York Times is deeply flawed to the point of being false.
But you would be argued against on that, Mike.
Fine, I had historical proof.
But there are people that would argue about that. But ultimately, it's the parents that get to decide.
That's right.
And if their parents do not want that taught to their child, then they should have another public choice.
Yeah, well,
they should have a choice of putting their kids in an education that does not happen in. And they should not have to pay for that out of their own pocket.
You cannot make the mistake and think that your local school board or any of your teachers have the same value system that you do. They may not. They may adhere to the Democratic Party platform.
Become engaged. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, become engaged.
Is that parents need to become engaged.
Yeah, all right. Let's go to the phones. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Good afternoon. You're on the air with Senator Kraayenbrink. Hello. I guess they're not on the air with Senator Kraayenbrink.
I thought they were, and I just couldn't hear them.
Yeah, no. I apologize for you not being able to hear these phone calls. I don't know what happened. I used to be able to answer the phone, and you could hear the phone call in the studio, but you can't anymore, which is a huge bummer. But anyway,
that's okay.
Anyway, moral relativism is not a core to support. Is not a core belief system that can be used to support a free market system or a free people. Moral relativism is essentially a belief in nothing. And I will argue with that with anybody.
And we need to
anytime as
get
well.
back to teaching the basics in our schools, which I know they want to do. But if a lot of this other stuff creeps in and starts to take over valuable time that our kids aren't learning what they need to learn to be leaders and productive and go on to college and hold great jobs and be our future, then I think we're hurting our future.
Of course. And I feel so sorry for the young parents. My son has his 3 children. They're just little ones. How is he going to explain transgender to them? How is he going to say, yes, granddaughter, you're out for wrestling, but it may be a boy you're wrestling, but he thinks he's a girl.
If you're in the Ames school district, that would be one of the definition words for the day.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
What is their definition there?
I'm trying to.
Of course, they're pretty enlightened there.
I mean, you know what the definition is, but it actually, words like that they're putting into their vocabulary.
Really?
Yeah, and they're learning that as vocabulary words.
God.
So they'll know, Mike.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, but they may know the definition, but
if I'm a parent that has a child in there and I do not want my child to learn that, I need another public option.
I need another public option. And by the way, I need to run for school board if that's happening in my town. And I'd love to debate some of these people. Yep. I mean, I would.
Well, you're not too old for that.
I know I'm not. I will.
You might be too crazy, but you're not too old.
Hey, but I'm a ferocious debater, and I have the truth on my side. Now that could be, I don't have all these feelings, and I'm mistaking tolerance for actually moral relativism and reverse discrimination.
Have you ever had those feelings?
Have I ever had what? That I was a girl?
No, just feelings of understanding and.
Oh yeah, I understand my.
I would like to see that.
I perfectly am in touch with my feelings over my right to bear arms. By the way, thank you for that. I just renewed my
July 1st couldn't come quick enough for you, could it?
Well, I just renewed my concealed carry permit. That was $60 or something like that. Now I don't need it.
Well, you do if you're going into a different state.
I suppose I do. Well, I mean, is it reciprocal?
It's still a good thing, yeah. In a lot of our states around us, it is.
Thank you, Tim. It's 3:00 in the afternoon. KBFD 14.
Hi, this is Leslie Segretti.
And I'm Tom Kreitler, and you can hear the Money Pit every Saturday afternoon from 4 to 6 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
A positive pandemic milestone. Lisa Brady, Fox News. Half of U.S. adults are now fully vaccinated against COVID ahead of Memorial Day weekend.
If you are vaccinated, you are protected, and you can enjoy your Memorial Day. If you are not vaccinated, our guidance has not changed for you. You remain at risk of infection. You still need to mask and take other precautions.
CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky says COVID cases continue to decline, with the 7-day average falling to 22,000. A moment of silence in Minneapolis, marking 1 year since the death of George Floyd. President Biden, who has joined calls for police reform, meeting privately with members of Floyd's family today at the White House. The U.S. Senate just voting to confirm Kristen Clark as Assistant Attorney General, the first Black woman to lead the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division, where she'll oversee investigations of the Minneapolis and Louisville police departments. Republicans have concerns about Clark's views on policing. Susan Collins of Maine, the only GOP senator to vote for her. The Senate will also vote soon on creating a commission to investigate the Capitol attack.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says the formation of an independent commission to look into what happened on January 6th is more important than ever.
Since January 6th, Donald Trump and all too many Republicans have tried to spread the big lie.
Schumer says a commission is needed to get at the truth as some lawmakers downplay the riot. 35 Republicans in the House helped advance that legislation, but Senate Republicans are mostly lining up in opposition.
I think this is a purely political exercise that adds nothing to the sum total of information.
Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell says ongoing investigations from Congress and the Justice Department are sufficient.
Fox's Jared Halpern on the Hill. A federal judge just tossing out an indictment accusing former Trump advisor Steve Bannon of defrauding border wall donors, citing Trump's pardon of Bannon. America is listening to Fox News.
Hello? Hello, Mrs. Kuntz. It's the back left tire of your RV calling. Wanted to give you a heads up that I'm going to blow out on the highway later today.
Wait, what?
Says here I'm going to burst in the middle of rush hour.
Well, can we reschedule?
Sorry, our policy states that once we're scheduled to burst, we have to. We really pride ourselves on our commitment to blowouts.
RV owners can't schedule when things go wrong on the road. That's why there's Progressive, a leader in RV insurance.
You want a text confirmation when I burst?
Think I'll notice.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Panera favorites are hot and ready to serve for dinner. Taste our cream.